OK, let's turn to Kevin Brennan then. Let's get your reaction to the breaking news overnight then that Steve Phillips has resigned, and generally just your reaction to the accusations made against the WRU in that Wales Investigates programme at the start of the week.
Well, I welcome the fact that Steve Phillips has stood down. I think that's become inevitable and has been for some time. And, the accusations that were aired in the programme, and I have to give credit as well to my colleague, Tonya Antoniazzi, the Labour MP for Gower, also a former Welsh international herself, for the work that she's put in on this, to try and get the WRU to accept the problems that were present and clearly present, as shown in the BBC Wales investigation in the game. So I think it's a positive step forward. We need, a proper progressive CEO to run the Welsh Rugby Union, not a see no evil CEO. And there's been just a culture of denial and closed up approach to administration in the Welsh Rugby Union that you just can't have in the modern game.
So where next for the WRU then? They've obviously got rid of the chief executive, or he's resigned. They are setting up an external task force, which is going to look at the body's cultures and structures and so on. That's going to be sort of led by Sport Wales, so arm's length from the WRU. What do you want to see to give you faith that it's not just the man at the top that's changing, but the body itself is changing?
Yeah, I very much welcome the fact that Dawn Bowden has got involved, but has made sure that the investigation is independent, run by Sports Wales, not by the government. That's right. And it's good that the Senedd Committee are digging into this as well, because I know from my work on a select committee, the way to get to the bottom of this is to have proper public scrutiny of what's going on in these organisations, which are not islands unto themselves. They are part of our culture, part of our economy. They do depend on government support from time to time. So I think a proper investigation, but a report that isn't left just to gather dust on the shelf, one that brings about proper structural change and cultural change within the Welsh Rugby Union is what's needed. I think ultimately, the leadership of the Welsh Rugby Union, perhaps the WRU should cast their net a bit wider and look for some top quality management leadership from their CEO, rather than always depending on internal appointments, which can then tend to be drawn into this culture that already exists. Change can be painful, but it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, Welsh rugby, facing the crisis it does, won't resolve the cultural and financial issues that it currently faces.
So the WRU chair, Ieuan Evans, and Dawn Bowden, the Deputy Sports Minister, will be quizzed by the Senate's Culture Committee on Thursday. What do you want to get out of that session? What do you think we need to know that the government is doing and that the WRU is doing?
Well, I think there are accusations within the report that will have to be addressed in that session. Obviously, it's up to the committee how they go about it, but it's notable that Amanda Blank, the sort of top, businesswoman who resigned from the WRU some time ago, in her remarks when she did resign, which were not publicised by the WRU, did say there are lots of things going on here that would not survive the scrutiny of a select committee type inquiry. So let's get these things out in the open and make sure they are properly aired and discussed. But also there needs to be a clear indication of the way forward, because we should be talking about, as we say, we're on the cusp of the Six Nations. We should be talking about Welsh success on the field at every level, instead of which we have, our regions, languishing quite low in the United Rugby Championship. We have a crisis in the community game. And although we've had success in recent years from the national team, we know there are real problems there.
Okay, can I just briefly ask you about... Sorry, can I just briefly ask you about Nadeem Zahawi, the Conservative Party chairman, who has resigned from his post, or been sacked from his post, because of a very serious breach of the ministerial code over his tax affairs?
Yes, well, I mean, this should have happened some time ago, and Rishi Sunak really, I don't know why he needed to invoke his advisor on this. It's pretty clear that the Prime Minister is responsible for breaches, or for looking after breaches of the ministerial code, and I couldn't think of anything more clear or egregious than the fact that Nadeem Zahawi, as Chancellor of the Exchequer, did not declare the fact that he was in dispute with the HMRC and had to pay a significant penalty in millions of pounds and repay taxes. So why it's taken so long for this to be dealt with, just shows the real crisis there is at the heart of this current Tory government.